And I'm the guy on the bike.
And this is a Velo29 podcast. Good afternoon, Rich.
Afternoon, Joe.
We are beaming down from planet Yorkshire back to Earth after 3 days in Yorkshire, and an incredible event, I would say so. Would you agree?
Wasn't it that? Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. We had a wonderful time.
I can't describe it as any other event that I've ever been to. I mean, it was phenomenal. Yes, there were only 120 people, but it was possibly the most exciting, well put together amateur event that I've ever been part of.
Nice of you to say so.
No,
Thank you very much.
I wouldn't say it otherwise. And I know a lot of it, like you said on the live pod we did, a lot of it kind of just came together, especially the evening stuff. But didn't it come together well?
It did. Yeah, it did. We'd focused on the riding like we always do, because that's our thing. And then we put together the evening stuff because we just wanted people to stick around and enjoy the evening. But I think that unexpectedly to us, the evening
became the better stuff. Yeah,
it made it into a lot of, and I think all those people coming together never met each other before and had stories to tell, adventures and challenges and things that had gone wrong during the day, and that gave them a commonality,
connection,
to bond.
And I have to say, when you first said to me, I want you up there, doing the sporties, but also in the evening doing some interviews, I was like, really? We've got a pandemic, we have to sit outside, the weather might not work, blah, 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 blah. They might not hear us, there's all these problems outside. It was incredible. It just, I know the weather helped, and I've been at events, where the best organized, the most incredibly well put together event has been ruined because of the weather, and also the worst organized event has actually blagged it because of the weather, you know. Whereas this was put together so well, and the weather helped.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd love to ride it.
Would you?
Even Harry said, didn't he, that he wished there was stuff like that when he was an amateur rider. It was. We set out to make it an experience, and we do that with all of our events. That it's not just another ride. It's what can we do that makes it an experience, and I think it really was, from riding down the start ramp to getting your medal on the stage at the end. It was just experience after experience that the guys had not really experienced before.
Exactly, and I don't think ever, out of a professional environment ever would. And I think that's what made, we talked about it in the live pod on Sunday, but that's what for me made it special. I've straddled the two, as you have. I've worked on professional races and I've worked on many amateur sporties, but to put the two together, which is exactly what you did, really brought something. I've worked on multi-day sporties, but again, you didn't have that feel of this is what it's like. This has got the sense of what you would be doing if you were a pro. Maybe a little bit slower, but and you wouldn't
in
have,
some cases, no, there was some impressive
really
riding.
Quick rides, wasn't there? Especially the time trial lads. We had a local club, didn't we? The 6 a.m. boys, who are a local cycle club. They meet before they go to work, and they obviously take themselves quite seriously in a good way. And we're very good riders, and they said they push each other all the time, which is why they wanted to do something that had a little bit more competitiveness about it. And that was what made it unusual, is that yes, it was a sportive, and most of it was no racing on the road, which is fine, but actually the fact that you were able to put the hill climbing and the time trial meant that for those people that wanted a little bit more, they got it.
It did. And those guys don't normally do our sportives, but there was no conflict between, from them looking to go as fast as they can, and they knew what the wattage was and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
All the way across to the other, like to Sheng,
the guy that borrowed a bike,
who had never had done sporting challenges, but never cycling. And he borrowed a bike. he was dropping it off on the way home. He never wanted to see it again.
And I know he didn't get back till late in the evening on Monday, but the fact that he even completed it is one heck of an achievement, because, like you say, he wasn't a cyclist, didn't have his own bike, and yet he chooses to do his first ever sportive as a multi-event. I mean, what a nutter! But
did he know what a start ramp was before Saturday morning? Probably not.
A borrowed bike, that says it all,
Yeah, but that's what it's all about. Two ends of the spectrum and everybody in between, and it didn't matter. They all had a brilliant time.
And I think for me, Richard, I know these events will get bigger and they need to in order to make them profitable. And it is a business at the end of the day. But what made it special for me was that you got to know people. It was because there was a small enough amount of people riding, and those that I'd met at previous Velo29 events. But there was a small enough group that in the evenings you were chatting to everybody. I probably had a chat to 90% of the riders at some point during the weekend, and that connection between us involved and them riding it, you don't get to do that very often. You really don't.
I felt like everyone was staying at my house.
That's brilliant, Rich.
Yeah, and were they all fed and watered okay, and did they know what was happening the next day, and all of that kind of thing, and that was brilliant. And yeah, if we had 2,000 people, you couldn't do that.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about, and you mentioned it on the live pod on Sunday, was the family atmosphere. I don't think either of us really expected that. I mean, it's what you want, but the fact that a load of guys brought their kids and their wives with them, and they stayed in the teepees, or they had a hotel and came over, and then there's loads of kids running around during the afternoon. It was lovely. It was really, really lovely, and it made it extra special from that perspective. You got a guy on a bike doing 100 miles. Next thing you know, he's feeding his baba.
I went and sat on where the picnic benches were amongst the teepees on Sunday night after we'd done the podcast and Jack had finished. I went over there, I had a bit of editing to do, and I just sat amongst all the teepees, and the kids were playing, and my little Elliot came out and he was playing with the two girls.
Oh, his new friend. There's a blossoming romance going on there.
He's going to be disappointed at Whitby this weekend when it's just me and him in the cold.
He's not there.
No, he thinks it's going to be like that all the time. But
bless him.
It was lovely just to sit there, and little noises going on. And there was a few guys having a drink, and it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So where do you go from there, mate? I mean, do you keep it that small, intimate, beautiful event that doesn't make a lot of money, but has an incredible impact on the riders? I'm getting an insight here into business, because do you do that, or do you go, right, okay, we're going to expand that, but then you end up making possibly the mistake of it being too big? Because I have been involved in similar events that started like that. Then the organizers maybe just kind of either dropped the ball or got greedy, and you end up with 1,000 people and you lose all that.
Well, we've opened it already for next year, which typically we don't do, but
no, I didn't even know that.
Whilst it's fresh in my mind, and so many people were saying, when are you going to enter it, because I'll enter.
And again, that's good business. When somebody's had a really good experience, you give them the opportunity straight away. Yeah. That is, absolutely.
We want to keep it at the same headquarters, because I think it just worked so well, and they did really well with the food and everything.
So good.
So we're going to increase it to 200, because now we've understood like the logistics of the place. You could get more teepees in.
A lot more teepees. I really want to encourage accommodation as well.
Well, that'll be open again next year, all things being well. Now we've got a sort of feel of the logistics. I'm comfortable that we could have 200 people on site. Parking needs a bit of working out.
Parking might be a challenge.
And I think that won't change the dynamic of the event. I'm keen that people stay, do the camping and all the accommodation.
So good.
I'd rather have everybody do that, apart from people who live just down the road, because it made a massive difference, like we said.
We need the weather though, and you always have to think about whether that would affect or ruin an event.
We're in competition with the Queen next year, aren't we? Because there's the additional bank holiday the week after. So there's three bank holidays: early May, late May, and then I think it's the 6th or 7th of June.
Oh, okay.
It's the Queen's.
Well, we can't really compete with her, can we?
Well, it plays in our hands well, because all of the people who left their partner at home and said, like, I'll buy you a new kitchen or whatever, they can say, but the Queen's bank holiday, we can go away and celebrate that. It'll be more quiet and everything. And I'll
so
go
it
ride
actually
my
gives the
bike
guys
from.
more,
Got a
because
brilliant excuse, yeah. So there you go.
We did speak to some of our lads, didn't we, live on the pod, and they gave their reasons as to how they were going to make up for losing a whole weekend away on their bikes. But like you said before, the fact that they were able to bring their families and wanted to did have that option, didn't it? It did allow.
So there's your excuse. If you don't like tents, you'll be able to stay indoors next year. And if you do like tents, we've got more space for camping. So there you go. There's no reason not to get signed up.
Now, Richard, we need to address the elephant in the room. As a commentator, I ended up doing a very different job on Saturday. I could have thrown my toys out of the pram and walked away saying, "What? No PA system? What? I'm not going to commentate." Tell the listeners and the viewers what I ended up doing.
Well, I considered it a promotion.
Okay. I haven't got any more money for it, but carry on.
And a very valuable life experience for you. We promoted you to chief timekeeper of the finish line
on the hill
for the hill climb. Yeah. And I can say you did an admirable job.
Admirable. I'll take that. I basically wrote down numbers and then typed them into a computer.
Yeah. You got to work with Carl again.
That was fine, and I don't mind that. The bit before putting up the gantry, I think I was well out of my comfort zone. And so did all the other crew that basically just said, look, just go and sit and watch because you're just getting in the way. I did try.
That is part of how we do stuff, though, because I don't know of other organisations where the staff turn up, the drive vans, they build a stage, and then they push people off on a start ramp. Yeah. They've planned the routes. They then go back and cook sausages and serve beer, and pick people up in vans, and then put it all away.
The role of event commentator as well,
Well, it's part. If you want to be part of the team, that's the way we roll.
Yes, sir.
But it does. That means that everybody knows about everything about it, and so they're not saying, "Oh, I didn't build a stage. You'll have to go ask him. I didn't do the numbers. You'll have to go ask him." Everyone knows everything.
Everyone knows the jobs.
It makes us value for money, and that's how we can keep the price sensible and still, keep a business going and offer a huge amount of things. And it is an important part of it, but we all really saw it.
I'll be honest and say, building stages and gantries probably isn't within my skill set, but I can make coffees in the Velo Cafe van.
Well, there you go.
If
Cat always needs a break from time to time. Well, I did buy her a fan.
I can do a flat white skinny, whatever. So, Anyway, good. That was a real highlight for you. I mean, I know you haven't stopped and you're on to the next event now. This is normally a bit of a quiet time for you, isn't it, season-wise?
It is, yeah. We always had that busy time of year was March and April. May we had the two of the peak, but not really much else in May. June was
Cheshire Cat sometimes.
Cheshire Cat was March,
isn't it?
Yeah, and we'll go back to that date next year, all things being equal. June was nothing, and July we had Stockton, which was a swine of an event. Great event, but so hard to deliver.
Well, that's because you've got races as well, so you're mixing the metaphors.
Yeah, when the staff all said to me, "This has been a tough weekend last weekend," I said, "Yeah, but it's not as hard as Stockton, is it?" And they were, "Yeah, you're right, yeah."
Fair enough.
But this year, I think because everything got shoved back a little bit, and also we've consciously tried to make the most of the season. May and June have become absolutely flat out. Yeah. We don't stop now until the middle of July.
So talk me through what's next then, because I know I don't get involved in all the events, but tell me what else we got.
Whitby this weekend, and sadly it'll probably be the last Whitby that we do for some time. It's an event we started it in 2014, and the regatta committee asked us to do it. Whitby Regatta, most of you will know of, the world's oldest still running regatta. Great event, ran by some very old, very stubborn
I've worked at Whitby Regatta in the past, so I know.
I think there's 3 of them, and they have a combined age of 400 or something like that.
I think it's more than that.
And we put the event on, and it's a nice little event. Doesn't get big numbers. We used to have it as part of the regatta, and then I didn't see a yellow line that he chalked on the road, which was supposed to tell me how to set up the complete event, and I did it about a metre to the left, and he got very upset, and then that was the end of us being part of the regatta.
Oops.
It's a lovely route, but I think that people don't, we've got Manchester lot, Leeds York lot, and Newcastle lot are typically our main customer base. And to get to Whitby, it's a bit of a chew on.
Trek, isn't it?
So I think that's part of it. I think the North Yorkshire guys, it's their stomping ground anyway. Yeah. So that they'll be asking themselves, why am I entering an event when I've ridden there 3 times this month already?
Yeah.
So it's sort of it's not an event that's going to go anywhere. We maybe get 250 at the weekend. So I think it's probably the last Whitby, which will be a shame.
Well, sometimes we've got loads of new stuff happening. You can't keep all the balls up in the air all the time, and sometimes you've got to go, right, that one's not working anymore, move on. I mean, I absolutely find that in what I do. There's some events I'll turn up and commentate and think, I ain't doing this again.
Yeah.
And others, I think, I hope this is happening every year for 20 years.
Indeed, yeah. It'll make way for something new and exciting. So
well, you've already been doing that anyway. So Lincoln, is that up soon as well?
On the front of new and exciting, yeah. Lincoln 262, which is Beast-esque. So it's we call the Beast Ultra Challenge. We call it Lincoln Super Challenge.
Right. Okay.
It's not as hard as the Beast. It's not as long, and by no means is it hilly. But it's 262 kilometers in a day, and I think we're getting a lot of people who previously haven't gone that far, and this is going to be their big day in the saddle. They're really, when they get the furthest they've ever ridden. So we've made it pan flat. We were going to go over the Humber Bridge, then they banned cyclists. Unbelievably, today they've said cyclists can go over the bridge, but we're not. It's too late in the day to change it. We haven't been to check it out and what it looks like and stuff. So that'll be something to sell the event in a year's time, perhaps. But I think Lincoln's going to be fab. People are really. We've got 400 riders almost. So
fantastic.
It's going to be another big super challenge event. Yeah. And then it's the Yorkshire Beast the week after, which is a monumental thing. You can't underestimate. There he is, the Beast. It is not a small feat for any rider. No. There is, nobody on planet Earth who would say that was easy. And there are people who go to very dark places to get around that. And it's that sort of 120 to 160 mile part where you've still got an enormous distance ahead of you. You've still got 2 or 3 of the climbs. You've been in the saddle for 12, 13 hours.
You've got another 6 to go.
And then quitting, it is an option. It's so difficult. It
Rich,
really is.
What is the completion rate off the top of your head for the Beast?
We've only done it twice.
Yeah.
Year 1, 2018, we had 500 people enter, and slightly less than half finished.
Wow.
And I think that people they underestimated the challenge. They thought that.
I think people do every time. We found that at the peak 2 weeks ago, that people were like, oh, I really didn't think it was. And a lot of guys I chatted to at the 3 days in Yorkshire were saying the peak's the hardest ride they'd ever done because they didn't expect it to be that difficult.
Well, all it takes is the wind to blow in the wrong direction, or to be stronger than you expected. And
what happened.
With the peak, you've got that southerly leg from Home Moss down to Macclesfield, where there aren't any climbs of note, but there isn't a flat yard. And if the wind blows in the wrong direction, which it did on
all day
this year, you've got 60 really hard miles on top of everything else, and that's what breaks people. And so, yeah, that first year, I think we had the people who just thought, I'll smash the caffeine, I'll go to a dark place, I'll walk up a hill, I'm going to finish, and they got into 125 miles. And it was an unbelievably hot day. It was high 20s, even low 30s. It was, and that was a factor.
And it could be again, because the weather is dropped for the next few days, but it looks like it's coming back. So,
well, in Yorkshire, it's today's hotter than the rest of the weekend.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. All right, not where I've got ended up, but yeah, we got rain today.
Second, and I think we learned as well. It was really difficult for us to look after 250 people who needed to get back home.
Yeah.
And there was a few things in our minds, like we've set, it's a 200-mile ride. We've put a bailout point, which is a 10-mile diversion at 125 miles. So really, you should take that and ride 135 miles because you've entered a 200-mile event. But very few people were interested in doing another mile at the point they said, I'm quitting.
Right. We're done.
Yeah. We changed our wording around it a lot, and we hammered a lot of very firm messages about, don't go too fast at the start. Tell everybody, like I am doing now, this is incredibly difficult. And I think we shifted the people didn't think, I'll just manage on the day.
You erred on the side of caution. Yeah.
The second year we had 90% of the people finished, which was unbelievable.
Now, you're saying how difficult it is, and yet on Sunday at the live podcast, you're talking about an ultra Tour de France type event. I mean, how does it not get any more difficult than it already is? Why would you want to do that or even organise that?
It's giving that experience again, isn't it? Who in the world who has a bike and is not aware of the Tour de France, and recreating that original ride in it, I think it has the elements of last weekend, but with the twist of it's the ultra challenge event on a bike, and we only have to find 88 people a year, and it's going to attract them all over the world, isn't it? It's not just going to be our customer base.
Most people don't announce an event until they know it's going to happen. You didn't announce it. Obviously, we talked about it. How likely is it that something like this can happen?
I mean, we've checked out. It's ready to go. We've done all the work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I spent a huge amount of time. When I used to have to travel for work a lot, I was reading books and researching, and I was doing all that kind of thing. And I've got on my computer the feed stops, the start, the finish, what's still there, what's not there anymore, the rules and the regulations at the beginning, all of that kind of thing.
You were saying to me even to the kind of what the officials were wearing and all this kind of stuff. You've properly gone into detail here.
Well, yeah, because obviously people could cheat back then and could now, and there used to be random checkpoints. There was prescribed checkpoints. There was random checkpoints, and then there was people on motorcycles who would be doing different checks to see that
This won't be a race. It will still be a sportive.
It's a challenge event on the roads. Yeah. It's not a race. No, it's like a time trial. You don't need to close the roads for time trials. We did for a safety aspect, although the farmers have tried to spoil that a little bit, and had the audacity to write a letter of complaint to the local highways about us.
Even though you got permission to close it.
Yeah,
we had a bit of that, but there we are.
And so you can imagine the French, Brexit, pandemic. We need all of that to go away, and then we'll do the event. But I think it'll be one that we're remembered for.
So you're talking a few years' time, maybe, rather than.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as close as next year. I don't think.
Okay. Cool. Listen, that's our time, mate. We've always got something to talk about, haven't we? I was like, we've done a
year in. Yeah, I know. We keep coming up with new ideas and breaking new boundaries and navigating around problems, though.
And getting sunburned. I mean, that was my issue.
You got burned, did you?
Well, because I if I didn't have a hat on all the time.
My wife didn't spray you with sun cream like she does everything else that doesn't move. You were unlucky.
Well, I was too busy timekeeping. I think that's probably what it was.
I bet it was when you were timekeeping that you got sunburnt as well.
Yeah, it's all good. I managed. Mate, been a pleasure as ever.
As ever.
Look forward to the next pod.
Yeah, and we'll see most of you at Whitby. We'll see even more of you at Lincoln, and we'll see those who were brave enough at the Beast, and then we're on the road down to Rutland and part of the Cycle Classic weekend for our.
Of course, brilliant.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work to do between now and that third week in July when we get a weekend off.
Good man. Well,
I did ride my bike yesterday. You did? And I'm riding it again tomorrow. And that is something that hasn't happened since the Sport Eve season started. So
I'm going for my long walk in a minute. So
you go for your walk.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Good to talk.
Cheers, Joe.
Take care.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye for now. Bye.